Hi. When I sit back, I have to remember to lower the. Yeah. Perfect. So, hello and welcome to the broadcast. So, I do this broadcast every Thursday, when possible, at 8:30 p.m. and that's UK time, and it's broadcast live through YouTube. So you watch through YouTube on my channel, and you ask questions through Skype, either through writing it or through calling in on Skype. But my Skype is Rebekah Maroon. Yeah. That's basically it, really. That's the way it works. I speak for a little bit, and then if there's a feeling of a question, then you ask it through Skype. I couldn't think of a title for the talk, so I called it Just Speaking, which it is. And this is a non-duality talk. And non-duality means not two, not separateness, not two. So that is the subject of the talks, always not two. So if you're here to hear about other things, maybe recipes, how to make this, how to make that, how to do your hair, how to improve other things, how to fix a TV or fix a phone battery. Mine's getting a bit worn out, my phone battery. I need to fix it. That isn't what this talk is about, so you have to do another search on YouTube for that. YouTube is so good. There's so much on YouTube. So I don't really have a a, a particular thing to talk about. Hence, I've called it Just Speaking, because I have no particular thing to talk about this evening. So we'll see. So what non-duality is talking about is that this is not two. It's not a separate reality. There isn't any separateness in this reality, this waking reality. There isn't any separateness. There aren't any independent things. I'm not really sure how that is perceived when you hear that. But it's quite a deep thing to speak about. It's quite a deep thing to proclaim, that this isn't a separate reality, that there aren't separate things. Because as humans, that's the conditioning, that seems to be the experience of being human. We grow up and we begin to experience and believe that this is a separate reality, that we are someone separate, we are a form, we are a thing, having a separate experience in a separate world. So the world out there is also separate. As we feel we are separate here, then everything else is seen to be an object, as being perceived by this something here, this object here. I'm the ultimate object of perception. I see everything. I am the receiver of all the information. And I have no idea why that happens, but it just happens. It's part of the human experience, it seems to be. It isn't wrong or bad, or it shouldn't be. It's not an error to be corrected, it's just the way it seems to happen. This story of someone, this energetic belief in this someone being true, being real. But what with that that happening of that dream happening comes suffering. As we claim ownership of this experience, as we claim ownership of the thoughts, of the seeing, of the action, comes suffering. Trying to own all of life will be suffering. And so it's part and parcel, this suffering, with this sense of being someone. With this sense of I am someone experiencing comes suffering. With the belief of I am the doer of action, I am the thinker of thought, I am the feeler of feeling, comes suffering. And so therefore this message could be said to be a remedy for that suffering, a remedy for that illusion. This seeing through this illusion of separateness. But the thing is, with this message, it isn't like a switch that you can flick. There's not a medicine you can take or a tablet you can take that will dissolve that identification or dissolve that belief or that seeming, that dream of you. But this is kind of the weird thing with this message, because it isn't so straightforward, because the freedom from that dream, and therefore freedom from suffering, is like right here. It's available. It doesn't take time. It's always free. It's always available. This freedom from that dream of someone, from that dream of time. And that is the joy, that it's right here, this freedom from that. It doesn't take steps. It doesn't take like a route. It doesn't take soaking overnight. The freedom is here. It's the very essence of this reality, very essence of this being, this isness. It's the essence of everything. So it doesn't take time. It's instant. It's not in time. But at the same time, it seems to play out as an undoing, seemingly in time, which isn't really true, because there is no time, but it seems to be that way. What we call time, which is the movements of the planets. It seems to take time to this dissolving, this seeing through of ideas, this seeing through of beliefs, this seeing through of, did I say ideas? I think I said ideas. Ideas, the false ideas of someone. And all the energy bound up in these ideas to get released, to get brought up, to get released. So it seems to play out like it's like that, of like an awakening process. So it seems to be like that. Of becoming more truthful and more honest. It seems to be like that. And this is the beauty, really, of this message. Maybe not at first, it's annoying, frustrating, the paradoxical nature of the message. But there can begin to be a falling in love with that, how it can't be obtained by the intellect. The intellect lacks reason. It must make sense. It must be logical. There begins to be a falling in love with this mystery that can't be followed logically with the mind, that can't be made sense of by the mind. I mean, levels of clarity can be had with the mind, with the intellect. but it won't result in freedom. It won't result in a peace, a contentment. It will just be a mental clarity, a mental idea that can offer some relief to the suffering, some relief in believing you've understood it, you've got it right, you've grasped something, you've seen something. It can offer some relief, but just temporarily, and not really offer relief. Maybe at a surface level, there's some relief in understanding what's being spoken about. But that will still be mental, and so therefore not satisfactory. So this is a dropping out of the mind, which is kind of the opposite of what we're used to. We're used to the mind being the primary tool of functioning. That's where I live, in the mind. That's where I remember things and plan things. That's where I imagine things. How will I live without the mind? Who will I be? Who will look after me? How can I tell my story without the mind? How can I exist? And this is the change, the switch over from living through a mind, an identity of who you are, to this living, And it's not a change or a switch for you. You are part of the mind. So who is it for? You could say it's for the body, for the machine. It's a switch from living through, identified through the body living. Without this additional story of an operator. So can this be lived without an operator? Can life still happen? Can there be functioning? Can there be doing? And yet, this is all already happening. The breathing is happening. And it's really, really claimed, the breathing. And yet, the body can't function without that doing happening, that breathing happening. Yet the breathing isn't claimed. The looking isn't claimed. Or the seeing isn't claimed. Or it's claimed sometimes, maybe. And yet the actions of the body, the thinking that appears, is claimed. These are my thoughts, these are my actions. And a part of that is needed, in a way. It's needed to own behaviour. So it isn't bad that we're conditioned into that, being a good girl or a good boy, good behaviour, bad behaviour. It's needed so that we can live better together, so we can cooperate and work together. It's needed, that conditioning. So there's no error in that. The problem comes is when it's taken to be true, it's taken to be reality, that I'm responsible, that I'm someone in here responsible for the body's actions, for the body's behaviours. So in a way, this is put in, and then this is the undoing of it. Not even the undoing of it, it's the undoing of the belief in it. The undoing of the realness of it. The undoing of the ownership of this. The ownership of life happening. Of thoughts appearing, of actions appearing. And the questions usually are how? How do we undo this? It's like asking how do we stop the sun from shining, or the rain from falling, or stop a thought from appearing, or an action appearing. Stopping life from happening. But again, paradoxically, so I have no idea how it stops, but paradoxically, I can also say that this message is the undoing of you. Life is the undoing of you. And that can involve everything. So maybe it can involve someone saying these words. It can involve someone telling you to be in the present. It can involve someone telling you to heal your childhood issues or traumas. It can involve someone physically healing you. It can involve everything. It can involve doing Reiki or chakra work or yoga, or it can involve meditating. It can involve being silent. It can involve chanting. It can involve going to the park. It can involve meeting a lover. It can involve being in prison. It can involve life. Life is the undoing of the dream. Life made it and it's undoing it. However it happens, whatever happens, whatever there's an attraction to, whatever unfolds, it is perfect. It is perfect. It can't go wrong. It can't go wrong. It can only go wrong if you have an idea of the way it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to look, of what's supposed to happen. Then you can measure what's happening with that idea, with that picture. But that picture isn't reality. That idea isn't reality. This is. Hi, Kat. Hi, Rebekah. I've heard you and other speakers say no one can know they're not there anymore, but yet also say with certainty there's no one here anymore. Could you say anything about this, please? No, no one can know they're not there anymore. Because the one saying they're not there anymore, or they are there, the one saying that is a thought, is an idea. So if the ones if that is being said, there's no one there anymore, that can only be an idea. It's not a someone. It's not a someone saying that. So no one can know that. No one could know that. There isn't someone who can know that. So in seeing that that's a thought, that's an idea, it's seeing that there's no one saying it. That's really a head fuck. I can't get. That's really confusing. But so not confusing as well. Like, who is speaking? Who is thinking? Is that a someone? Does it belong to someone? So thoughts and knowing aren't true. Speaking isn't true. So whether I say there's no one there or there is someone there, these are words being spoken. They aren't truth. They aren't truth. They aren't the way it is. They're just words being spoken. Why, why do they say there's no one there then? I can't speak for other speakers. Okay, why do I say there's no one there then? Um, because no one can be found. Because no one can be found. There's everything happening, but no one can be found. There are thoughts, there are feelings, there is vision, there is hearing. But not a someone. Where is this someone other than in thought, other than in idea? Yes, I see what you mean. It just feels like empty space here. Yeah, yeah, empty space and fullness as well. Emptiness and fullness. Excuse me. The fullness is the appearance. Yeah, yeah, feels like that here. The fullness is everything. It's the manifested. It is full. That the manifested, as in all that appears, all the objects, including thinking objects, feeling objects, sensation objects, all the forms is fullness. Is everything. That's the fullness. But it's also empty. It's inherently empty. It's nothing. But it's full. It's full of life. And these aren't two separate things. In the awakening, it plays as separate things for a while. There's emptiness and there's fullness. Then at some point, it's not two separate things. And this is what I would say is peace is home. the emptiness in the fullness and the fullness in the emptiness. Together, not separate. And this is seemingly, I think, the integration is that, the integration of that, the integration of that seeing of that emptiness, the revealing of that emptiness, and then the fullness, and the integration of them, the full integration of them. So non-duality isn't something private and separate, and then you have your normal life over here. It's this full integration of it. I still couldn't say with certainty there's no one here, because there is a character. Is that a question? Couldn't say there's no one here because there is a character. The character isn't separation. The character is part of what's been formed through conditioning, what your parents have passed on. That makes up a character with certain likes and dislikes, a certain humour. That's the character. Hang on. So that isn't, the character isn't someone. It's just a functioning, a part of, like a flavour of the human. Like a certain software, maybe. It's just that character gets hijacked and gets claimed. To be a person, that character is supposed to be who I am. And that's the suffering, when that character's owned. As if it makes up a somebody. We believe that character is someone, and that someone is going to somehow get this, or somehow wake up. So we try to manipulate and perfect that character so it wakes up and it arrives and it's successful and it gets its happiness. But this isn't about the character. This isn't about who that person believes itself to be, that character. The character is the character. Just a flavour of the machine. Yes, it does feel like incredible peace. It seems more in the moment and going anywhere or achieving anything anymore. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't mean achievements don't happen. It's part of the story. There could be an achieving of something, a learning something, and an achieving of something. But it's not going to give you happiness. It's a pleasure. A world full of pleasure and pain. Pleasure and pain. There's nothing wrong with pleasure or pain. They're innocent. Pleasure and pain. The trouble is the seeking to keep pleasure and to avoid pain. The trouble is that sense of someone who feels it exists as an independent entity and needs to have pleasure to feel complete, to feel whole, and needs to avoid pain to feel complete and whole, or to not feel complete and whole. I'm not sure. And that can be a beautiful thing as well, to see that pain and pleasure is okay. Pain and pleasure can come, and they can leave, and they don't disturb who you are. Whatever you get, whatever you lose, doesn't disturb who you are. Does any seeking to get out of pain that you might have happened for you anymore? I think there's a natural aversion to pain. Naturally, there'll be a not wanting of pain. So that'll be a natural thing that comes up as an animal, as a human living animal. There'll be an aversion or a preference for not pain. So there'll be a trying to avoid getting punched or trying to avoid having hot drinks or whatever. There'll be a natural aversion to it. But when it comes, it comes. It's as much part of this as pleasure. There's actually a beauty in it. It says as much you could say, as much as of this as anything else. When it isn't seen as an opposite. This is a confusing part of this message. The paradoxical nature of it. Wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Kat, for your question. So I might leave it there. So if you're not aware, I just do these streams Thursdays at the moment at 8:30. So there's no stream on Sundays anymore. So yeah, it's been really lovely to speak and communicate this. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you next Thursday, I think. Yeah, at 8:30. Okay, thank you. Bye.